Hi, everyone. Just shy of our start time, so I'll just settle more here and you can do the same. Gather what you need. Thank you for joining me. I'm aLex Levin. We're here in the Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube portal or channel. And I just want to thank you for being here with me today. Perhaps you're joining in real time or sometime later. And the community, the sangha, as we say in the yoga world, through the Sanskrit word, is powerful. Is a powerful support. And make sure in the next few moments that you have the support, the other practical supports of what you need for this practice to be uninterrupted as much as possible. For the space to be comfortable. The ancient text said, get your mat on on your ground on your earth floor, get a nice clean mat, check that the space is free of flies, I think something like that. Oh, no, they say get your zebra skin or something like that. It's fun. So I have my wool blanket folded under my pelvis. I'll start with, getting us arrived, centered, grounded, and we'll slide right into a very mini movement. It'll be a breathing practice again today. I have a feeling there could be a dog interruption, maybe a little barking as somebody I expect might come in, but we'll roll with it. We will roll with it. So arriving, setting those parameters as best we can, preparing the space, preparing for this event, this practice, which has this routine feel. But everything that we take on and we want to do well, maybe not all things are of equal weight. We want to, it's it's helpful to gather what supplies we need to enlist what people we need to help us, or what resources, what learning we bring. Carve out the time needed, which is sometimes difficult to guess. So, arriving, one of the most powerful ways for me, I think for many, is to feel where our bodies are in this gravitational field, right on this little piece of real estate on our planet. And we feel the weight. I feel the weight of the heaviness that I feel through my pelvis. You might be lying down, so you feel it distributed through more of your back body. You might be sitting in a chair and leaning back, and you'll feel the weight of your body against the chair. And follow through, just scan. You might scan through the belly, up the spine, and even if you're lying down, you can go in that direction from the feet toward the head. Just scanning each part as it relates to the other, as it relates to gravity. And you may have brought with you a heavy load of things happening. Maybe there's s- sensations in your body that are uncomfortable. It may be um, there may be as has there's something happened in our world to last night that is so heavy for me. I'm not going to talk about it. If you're in listening to this at the time of it, you'll know. But there may be something similar in your own life, just something that's so a difficult, sudden uh, change or event, painful, confusing, sad, angering. And you may be bringing with you, don't exclude the joyful things, the good night's sleep, the nice meal last night, or maybe this morning. I enjoyed some avocado with lime, salt, a little cayenne pepper, all of that. It's like bring all that, all these friends with you, all these visitors, all these parts of our experience, and fold in the breath, fold in your consciousness of breathing. And perhaps as we're attending to ourself in this way, to our just now experience, just what's right here unfolding now, not well, there may be thoughts and judgments and managings and all kinds of things, and those are all part of this. You'll see those, you'll feel those, your mind may glom onto them, and just recognize that they're a part. They're a small, sometimes they might feel small, they might feel, it might feel like it's the totality, but as we lean back into looking at ourself as if from behind or above or inside, from a perspective, we start to feel, uh-huh, there's something bigger. Myself is bigger. And you may start to feel shifts in how you relate to, how you sense the feel of yourself. Come back to anchoring and feeling how the solid body, with all its parts, can be more relaxed, uh, more in harmony, more integrated. And the practice of noticing these parts of our body, whether it might be through Tai Chi for you, it might be through um, yoga practices, through this practice with me of awareness through movement, Feldenkrais, somatics. Boy, Rock, good boy. And so we can come back to breath, we can come back to that grounding feeling. And Moshe Feldenkrais, who codified this particular kind of somatic approach, that was not only about the body, it was really about the whole being, about the mind, really about how we think of who we are, how we sense ourselves, and how we learn. Those were things that were very important to him. He said, there's a quote from him that I got from Jackie this week. Walk around and see how you literally become completely free of gravitation because we use our skeleton much better. We become light, serene. There is no better meditation than that. So as we feel ourself, the parts in relation and in harmony in the movement practices, and then when we are doing other things, we're still always in this gravitational field. And yet, when we align with it, when we sense it, and it actually helps to prop us up, to bring us buoyancy, lightness, as he says, ease. Perhaps you've had tastes of that, and you may be having a taste of it right now. And I will say that even as I've done these practices for decades now, there are days I find difficulty finding that, identifying it as from some pain in the body or some pull of some part of me that's festered, that's causing me some grief. And so we are relating to this space around us. So let's just listen as you are hearing my voice, as you're likely hearing my voice in concert with what sounds are around you. At the same time as we listen, we get even quieter, more still, perhaps. We can continue to sense the body, its parts, the breath moving through. And in listening, we have this sense of distance of what's out there coming to here, what's in here receiving it. And now come back to breathing, to the sense of your breathing. And just notice how it might be touching in your nostrils, maybe even in the throat, the chest, the ribs, the belly, and discovering some possibly resistances that melt or resistances that stay as resistance. Take some attention to the side body, the back, and especially come I'm going to show to the where to sense across the lower ribs. It's really sort of a dome shape, this breathing muscle, the diaphragm muscle. I loved yoga master teacher Barbara Bena's um, image of moon jellies, the jellyfish that are you can see in aquariums, or perhaps if some people can see them scuba diving. Moon jellies, maybe snorkeling. And our diaphragm is a little like that. It moves up and down, flattening and doming. And the jellyfish has such a soft feel. Sometimes our own diaphragm is a bit harder. And imagine that you can relax your ribs circumferentially. The lower ribs actually are not across, but you can follow with your own hands, the bones. They're at an angle, at a diagonal angle. They come around the sides, almost to the waist, and then up the back again, lifting upward toward the uh, joints with the spine. And the front joints is toward the breastbone. They articulate with up here, up higher with the collarbones, the shoulder blades, and of course the joints of the spine and the upper body. But then you can also feel the movement, the joint articulation, the relationship to breath and diaphragm movement with the lower back, the hips, the hip bones, the hip joints, the belly, the softer organs of the belly, and the pelvic floor. And imagine now that and this is our movement, our mini movement part, we're deep into it now. Imagine the pelvic floor also is a diaphragm that lifts and lowers. Maybe you feel it, maybe not. You can imagine. And so the diaphragm muscle, when we breathe in, it lowers downward more flat. And when we breathe out, it domes to more mushroom shape. Relax through the jaw, through the shoulders. And let's add a tiny movement that's just going to help us feel the articulation of some of the areas I've mentioned, to where we, just as you inhale, pull the shoulders back just a little bit, just back, and then relax and let them come, and then pull them forward just a little bit as you exhale. Just a small movement will send a ripple through the ribs, the spine, the lower back. You might feel the pelvis moving in a way with this movement. It might stay neutral. It might move against the movement of the shoulder girdle axis. And so you might imagine as we breathe in that the whole space and feel to the back as well, the whole space, the front, the sides, the top and bottom and the back, even though we're pulling our shoulders back, the whole space expands in there for breathing, the lung space. And especially imagine now that the lower ribs area closer to the waist also gets to expand to the sides, the front, even the back as we breathe in. As Iyengar, the yoga teacher, taught that it's like the handles of a bucket. Most buckets just have one handle, but imagine they kind of lift and make more space. That's how those lower ribs move, or most of the ribs have that because it's not just right angles. It's a more curved, circular, angled shape. And there are spaces between the ribs, spaces that have muscle between them and soft tissue. And all that has flexibility or not, or less. And by bringing our attention there and playing with adding more flexibility, we we begin to get some. Never too late. So stop the movement, but continue to watch the breathing and especially tune into this diaphragm at the mid body, mid torso. There's, you might think of another diaphragm at the throat, at the upper palate, at the top crown of the head, just inside the skull, the membranes. You might even think of uh, diaphragms at the knee joints, at the arches of your feet, even though my legs are crossed and bent. I can imagine that, all responding to the breath, the wave of breath pattern through the body. And then begin to let go of attending in particular to the breath and just sense what sensations are here for you now. What sort of, how is your energy when maybe previously it was just possibility, frazzled from getting ready for things. Maybe it was excited, maybe it was calm before, but sense how it is now, the feeling tones from a physical place, from the emotional place, from the subtle, more subtle sensings. Something has likely changed from when we first came together. And to give the experience you're having some language now, maybe a few words, just description. Can be poetic, not poetic, practical, but as accurate as possible, as accurate. And it might be a gesture. It might be, hmm, it might be, a gesture with some sound. It might be, I'm doing gestures with my arms and body. And as you sense yourself, hear yourself, be your own audience to that expression, check if that's true or if there might be something a little more accurate. Like, when something is, the bell is just right, the sound is just right, the taste is just right. What description would make it more accurate? And I'll do that with you. What's coming for me is like a little bit of a squeeziness in the lower belly. and yet a lightness, like squeezy in the lower belly, a lightness in most of my body, but deep inside the lower belly, there's some little holding of something, little turbulence. Yeah, turbulence. More than holding, it's like a turbulence. And otherwise, there's a lightness around my legs are a little, feeling a little achy. So I may shift the leg position. And so this actually is super valuable to be able to report to ourselves and to others what's the real what is truly happening now because we carry a lot of times we carry over something from the past which could be minutes ago or years ago and I saw a tail and those are not necessarily fully true now they may need attention in a deeper way but when we can see that that's not truth or fullness and see the more and the more of what is truly here, it changes that the relationship, our relationship to that part of ourself. And so, usually at this point, the we've this has been a preparation for moving into the stillness piece for about 8 minutes. So you may need to rearrange like I did just a little bit or a lot for this meditation part, not the moving meditation, but the stillness meditation. And let's begin. 8 minutes. You might attend to any tension in the jaw and let it loosen if there's tension there. A lot of times you don't once you just see it, bring attention to it, there's nothing more you need to do. It self releases. You might re-establish that feel of how you know the ground and gravity supports, how you feel them, how you receive them, and easily align with them. Stop resisting or having to try to do it all on your own. And that's a process. You may not find it in every practice fully. And Feldenkrais' teaching said we can always improve. We're never just arrive at, oh, I found it and this is my perfect meditation posture. I got it. We re-find it again and again, and we continue to unfold ease and consciousness of awareness and all the parts within it. You might set your hands and arms in a certain way, and by being conscious of that and sort of making that intentional, you'll notice if it shifts. You may notice because the hands have a lot of sensitivity to report. And breath, revisit with the breath. More and more settle into yourself, into now. Let your eyes soften and simply imagine seeing yourself from just outside yourself, behind, from the backward step. And whatever arises, if it seems to grab at your attention in a greedy way, you can notice your own reaction to it. You can perhaps imagine asking it to wait till later or place it in a box and put it somewhere nearby. That it's not that it's not valuable or worthy of your attention, but not now. So you can give it just enough attention for a few breaths to recognize it, to bring some wonder to it, to honor that part of you and how you're responding to it. This is another part of the integration. And then you can also enjoy the periods of just perhaps sensation of just being. And if you find yourself on a train of thought, just step off. Or maybe more like a bus that you can just pull the ringer and it'll stop at the next stop. But they're quicker stops. Trains have longer waits between stops usually. Immediate stop. The bus will stop for you. That kind of bus. And perhaps bring some lightheartedness and even allow joy to be here. Maybe a sense of kindness towards yourself, forgiveness for not being perfect at this practice. Just a handful more breaths together in this stillness, silence, being. just now, even when devastating things happen and we need to attend to them. But also, as you'll feel as we become more tending to ourselves, you'll feel how you're just maybe obsessing about it or caught in it, and it starts to be unable to. You can feel that you're unable to find you get kind of just down, just down or too much of some kind of emotion or some inability to cope, perhaps, and to just be able to maybe not being still, maybe it's take a walk and just look at nature around you or trees or or sit somewhere where you can uh, be by water or a stream or just a even if you have a plant, if all you have is in your apartment a plant that you enjoy or be with your pets or somebody you care about and do something that shifts you away from that, share something joyful or beautiful. It can add so much perspective. It's not to deny the atrocity or the difficulty, but it adds a wholeness that informs everything so well. So thank you. I'm going to read some names of those of you who join me sometimes or often, and thank you for that. Pat, Anastasia, somebody new to me, maybe today. Nancy, Lisa, Patty, Nina, Sandra, Lana, Linda, Mary Beth, Kamalesh, Christine, Namita, Jennifer, Brooke, Elizabeth, Glorianne, Gail. Did I say Gail? Gail from Edisto sometimes, from South Carolina. Jackie and Virginia sometimes join. Thank you. Peace and joy. See you next time.